Barrel Buddies, episode 30. Today we're going to talk about two Kentucky whiskeys, newer, from MB Roland. So this is their Kentucky Straight Bourbon and then their Dark Fired Whiskey. We'll talk about where they're from. So your Louisville and your Lexington, your Bourbon Trail, they're much further south near Fort Campbell, just northeast a little bit. That's where MB Roland is from. Distillery was founded in 2009 by Paul and Mary Beth. That's where the MB comes from. Paul was originally from southeast Louisiana and then moved to Fort Campbell per the Army. And then after getting out, they purchased an Amish dairy farm in 2009, started making whiskey, and then recently in 2013 increased production and renovated the distillery. So now they're on much higher production for their bourbon.
Excellent. Well, thank you, David. Mm-hmm. So for both of these two whiskeys we have here today, they feature a little bit higher of a corn mash bill. So they're not straight corn whiskeys, but they do have about 78% for both, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so that means you get a creamier, richer, more textural style of whiskey. It's super delicious. They also use a little bit of a different style of char on their barrels. They do 2 years of air seasoning versus kiln dried, which is what a lot of distilleries tend to do. So David, go ahead and tell us about our first whiskey here, the Dark Fired whiskey.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the Dark Fire. So similar, like Jen was saying, both of these are 78% corn, but 33% of the corn that they use in the Dark Fired whiskey is actually smoked. So it's not a peaty smoke like you would get from some of your American single malt producers or even single malt producers. It's more of a mesquite smoke on the palate that you get. So it's kind of like, especially with spring coming, it's going to be a great whiskey that pairs with like grilled foods, like ribs. It's going to make you hungry when you try it. So
backyard barbecue time.
Yeah, you get that campfire, you get that sweet barbecue on the nose, that dry rub spice on it.
How do they roast the corn? Do they do anything specific to get that spice, or is that just a product of this whiskey particularly?
Product of the whiskey particularly. So they just, similar to peat smoking something, I don't know the wood that they use to smoke the 33% corn, but I do know that like practically almost half of their corn for this product it's still white corn, but they just smoke it. Yeah, and that's where that difference in flavor comes from. And,
excellent.
Yeah, both of these are going to be higher proof also, so they kind of focus on doing the higher proof stuff. I know also that Paul does distiller classes actually out of their distillery that you can sign up and visit down there.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this second one is much more straightforward than the other one, and it is a straight bourbon whiskey, of course. So that means it's been aged for a minimum of 2 years. See the bottling date. Yeah. And it is cask strength, which means it is non-diluted. It is quite excellent, packs a punch, great for Manhattan. You get a lot of notes of spice, caramel, kind of like a grilled corn. It's like, I love when you have a really well-made corn whiskey because you really can taste the corn, and like, it's so southern to me. Like smoky barbecued corn is all over this palate. And then definitely it has a lingering oak finish, but the finish is a little bit different than that sweet vanilla and toasted oak that you get on others. You can tell if you drink a lot of whiskey or, you're used to tasting things that are barrel aged, the oak aging is different. It's much more like well integrated and delicate. So, great.
Yeah. And just for like mentorship, they are a smaller production. So of course he's in Kentucky. So like mentors that he's looked up to were, Jimmy Russell from Wild Turkey and
Phil Samuels, from Maker's Mark.
So yeah, it's they're doing good work and have been since 2009. They're a younger distillery for sure, but they're putting great product out there, and we're happy to carry them at D&M.
Yeah, this is one thing we pride ourselves on at D&M is always having the best newer producers to bring to you. Really fun, small batch stuff. We like to support local businesses and small businesses, which is our style.
Yeah. Barrel Buddies episode 30, done.
Cheers.